Hi, y'all. I wanted to share some insight about what it's like to grow a garden for folks who might be thinking about it as one year closes and another one begins. It's a good time to start thinking about whether you want to garden because then you have some time to grab all the materials and to potentially optimize your growing potential by starting your seedlings early. If you're in the mid Atlantic region of the United States, you probably don't need to start summer type crops like fruits, vegetables, and such like that until perhaps January, February. But if you don't have the supplies, it's a good time to start budgeting to grab those things. Check your local area to see what materials that you have available. But just for awareness, I wanted to show just how easy it can be to start off a garden. It takes steps, it takes consistency, but it's doable, very doable. So here I bought one of those pellet trays that you can get at Lowe's. You can likely get this at a local garden shop as well. I didn't really click into where the local garden centers were until later in the summer. But I simply put the seeds that I wanted to grow in these little pellets and labeled them and put that humidification top on it. And I had two of them, so I went through that process again, basically watering those pellets, letting them puff up, and then adding the seeds. Then I found a space in my home that was warm near a window, and I just used a tarp to cover the area so I can protect my sill. If you have a table near an area, you can do that too. Very quick, within a few days, some of them started to germinate, and I just simply used an old flaxseed hemp shaker to water them on a daily basis. Here you can see all the different seedlings popping up. This was such a great time. I like growing things. And I went ahead and plotted out my patio space. You can see some pots here from my last year's garden, but I'm a patio gardener. I don't have a lot of soil. And so what I do is I get pots, I measure out my area and see how much I can fit and maximizes. This clip is kind of funny because even though I did all that planning to scale out my area, I definitely put too many plants back there. But here you can see just about at what height my seedlings were before I decided to start hardening them off, which is basically periodically putting them outside for a couple hours and bringing them inside for the rest of the day just so that the plants can get used to like real sunlight before you put them outdoors all the time. And when it came to actually putting the plants outside, transferring them from um, just a peat moss to a soil mix, I went ahead and bought some organic soil and added a little bit of coconut peat to that to mix it up based on whatever plant specifications there were for each genus, each species, each plant. Had a little hand rake, filled up the pots about a third of the way, and then added the little plants, and then put the rest of the soil on around the root ball area. Just being very careful with the root systems. And I watered them, and I added also a little bit of some seedling fertilizer, root stimulator that I had. Well, it came with the original package that I had, I believe. Um, Throughout the summer, I actually went ahead and purchased some organic fertilizer that basically makes it kind of like Kool-Aid. I just bought a specific uh, watering pots and used that to mix the fertilizer with water and then pour that around the root systems. Um, oh gosh, I remember this. So I didn't realize until after a few days that the pots I purchased didn't have holes in the bottom of them. So one day when I was out back doing some tool work, I grabbed my drill and took care of those pots to make sure there were holes in the bottom of them. And this is after a few weeks. You can see that my tomatoes started to fruit quickly, and other plants that I put back there are kind of doing okay, kind of not. I was traveling a lot during the summertime, so there were times when they were looking kind of rough and they were really thirsty, but I just tried to love them as much as could. I grew everything from watermelon to broccoli. I grew herbs, basil, holy basil, oregano, thyme, cheese, bell peppers, habanero peppers, sage, lettuce, watermelons, like three, four different types of watermelons. And this is me uh, after some of the watermelons and cantaloupe plants I had grown had really started to get nice and viney. So I bought some stakes and just got some thread and just um, wound the vines amongst the thread. And then I basically created a form of a hammock to cradle each fruit. And these did relatively okay. I know now that I can probably only grow one or two melon fruits for the amount of space that they need. But these did grow to very large softball size, like larger than a regular softball size. And the fruit was very sweet. So I would definitely grow watermelon again. Here are the tomatoes in those cages. The broccoli is right there. In the corner are the cucumbers, but I ended up moving those as the summer went on. That's the cool thing about patio gardening. If things need to move because the sunlight ain't great, you can do that. This is when the tomatoes started to fruit. And different plants require different types of pollination. So the tomatoes were easy to pollinate. I basically just tickled the flowers every other day or so. But some of the plants, those are the beans that I'm messing with right there. What's behind that in that long green tray is the zucchini. The zucchini has male and female flowers. So what I would do is grab a Q-tip, and fertilize them. The melons were easier. Oh, there's a cucumber I found right there. Actually, I'm harvesting this cucumber. And gardening is so neat because then you see like the flower at the end of the fruit. This is such a great moment. I love growing cucumbers. They're easy and they generally have a high yield for me. And cucumbers are one of my favorite fruits. They're so versatile. You can eat them cold, you can have them on the side with hot soup or ramen. This is my habanero plant. Such an easy plant to grow and not too many pests because it's so daggone spicy. I mean, what plant wants to go ham on a habanero? I also grew jalapenos. I grew so many things. I'm gonna be a bit more tailored on what I grow this year. I just wanted to grow everything that I could grow. My dream is one day to have a house that has a nice big backyard with fertile soil so I can really grow all the things, have a fruit orchard, things like that. But highly rewarding growing season. I suggest again highly that if you have not gardened before, if any of this looks interesting to you, give it a try. And if you have questions about gardening on a patio, just put a question, ask your questions, and I'll get back to you when I can. So, thanks for watching.